my name is Kristen Simpson, music director at La Cañada United Methodist Church, and then also have community and high school groups that I work with.
Nice to meet you, Kristen.
Hi, my name is Hugh McDevitt. I was a friend of Christie's. We sang together at San Jose State University. I am the choir director at Santa Teresa Hills Presbyterian Church in San Jose, and I also direct the Community Women's Chorus in Palo Alto.
I'm Brenda Moore, and I teach junior high and high school choral music at Loma Linda Adventist Academy in Loma Linda, California. And tomorrow is my last day. I'm transitioning to hopefully working with more adult voices, but I've done church choirs for years.
Awesome.
Your microphone's not on, Julie.
Can't hear you, Julie.
All right, thank you.
There you go.
There we go. My name is Julie Ramsey, and currently I'm the director of Bayshore Community Congregational Church in Long Beach, and direct handbell choirs and vocal choirs there.
And I'm Kim Nason, and I'm in South Orange County, California, and I teach elementary school music, and I have been at my church choir, which is a Methodist church, for 30 years.
Wow.
No gold watch, no parade.
I think that was everybody. Okay. So I'm here today to just facilitate a conversation about our worship groups. This is a chance for us to express our concerns or share our successes that we've had, for us to bounce ideas off of one another and hopefully learn about and create some innovative ways to start moving forward. I know we're all in very different circumstances within our congregations, so maybe we can just start by talking about our current situations, whether we've been cantering, exploring virtual choirs, or performing with small groups, just to talk about where we're at. If you'd like to respond or have questions, you can do that by either typing in the chat, or you can use the raise hand button, or even just raise your hand. There's enough of a small enough group that I can see everyone.
I can start if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
We have a relatively small congregation, and I've got a 14-voice choir. We have been on shutdown since the second Sunday in March, and we've been doing Zoom services. I'm fortunate that my wife is a really talented mezzo, so sometimes we've been doing piano vocal stuff from our piano room and doing that as anthems. We've also, in the last month, been doing some work with the Apple a cappella app. And for the first experiment, my wife and I just dubbed ourselves and did a quartet of God Be With Us Until We Meet Again. Last week, we involved members of our choir that have Apple devices, which is a limitation of this app. But we did the Karen Lafferty tune from the 70s, Seek Ye First the Kingdom of God, and we did it unison and then in 4 parts. And we had 9 voices, and it sounded pretty cool together. Otherwise, we have a very talented accompanist, and she's been doing piano, offertories and postludes from her house. And we have a couple of other soloists in the congregation who have been offering music from their places too. And the other thing is, I'm fortunate that some of my colleagues from San Jose State have put together some some really nice sacred music instrumental. And so I've gotten permission from them to include that as part of our worship services as well. We had Dr. Aaron Langton, who was the head of jazz studies at San Jose State, did a baritone saxophone version of the Tallis If You Love Me that we used last week. And so I've got some very creative friends that we've been able to take advantage of.
Awesome. So you've been doing a mixture of solo, duet, and virtual choirs as well.
And the a cappella app is not one of these really high effort things that it takes the 15 to 40 hours to put together. It's really pretty simple, and you just pass a web link on to your next singer, and they just sing over what's already been recorded. And as long as we've been doing, hymn stuff, homophonic, and so it's really not very hard. It might take somebody 2 or 3 takes to get it, and if you keep the piece short, it really is a nice thing to do, and it's not the 40 hours of video and audio editing that a lot of these, the Eric Whitacre style stuff requires.
Nice. Can you talk a little bit about the Apple app? Do you prefer that? Is that more difficult?
Well, so the Apple app, I had seen other people using it on the web, and there is a free version, but it limits you to 30 seconds of music. And there's a subscription version that is only, I think it's like $47 for a year. And so I bought that, and everybody else that participates just has to download the free version. And so it's not really that expensive, and it's easy. I found it easy to use, and there's a minimal set of editing, like reverb and balancing you can do with the voices. And I'm not an audio engineer, but I found it fairly easy to use. And so the only limitation is, one, you have to have an Apple device to get it to work, and the app limits you to 9 singers. But I've joined a Facebook group for this app, and a choir director in the East Coast found a way to get it to do 16 singers. So I'm going to be messing around with that this week.
Awesome, thank you. Would anyone else kind of like to tell us where they're currently at in their music?
I am in a very, very small church, and the predominant numbers of our congregation are 16 older, and I would say even half of my choir is 70 and older. So they've even indicated also that they are really reluctant to come back to church anytime soon. So I lead a weekly hymn sing through Zoom once a week, and then I help pre-tape our service with the pastor and our organist on a different day. But I don't have a large enough choir that have enough strength on their own to be able to do any kind of virtual choir type of compilation. I feel I've got the skills to be able to combine it if I had their ability to be able to sing it. But they've expressed how much the hymn sing means to them. We place in the same spot where we normally would have choir rehearsal, and have even beyond the congregation also joins us. So that has been a successful part for us. We're trying to expand the amount of music we include in the service, but it's difficult when you're dealing with small groups and limited skills.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to share?
We've been doing something that for us is really outside the box. We used to have 2 services, a traditional service, or we call it relaxed traditional because we're so groovy. And that's the one that I do with choir. And then we had a contemporary service that's rock and roll, and it was really loud. I mean, like decibel issues loud. And so what we did is we've combined into one service that we have on Vimeo. So it's out on Sundays, and able to be seen, at any time. And we get together, the guitarist, drummer, my accompanist, and I at church once a week, and we record 3 songs for that Sunday. Usually we're a couple weeks ahead. And what we're trying to do is one hymn for, the diehard older folks who that's what they love most. And then something that's a little contemporary, like for this week, we're doing Breathe. This is the air I breathe. And then we do one thing that's a little more rock and roll. So it's sort of, will piss off everybody. It's not, it's, what that service is like. But trying to appeal to the group and stay on message for whatever the pastor's working on. In terms of choir, I have about 20 in my choir, and I'm so just lucky that I have very few that are over 60. I have a lot of people with young kids, which is awesome. And but I also don't have a lot of leaders. So we haven't done anything with a virtual choir thing. I did it once with Pacific Choral and scared the crap out of me. And so I'm like, I have to make this really scaled down and easy for them because it was hard. But I did send out a survey. I don't know if any of you saw Christina Nakagawa's presentation at her TED Talk last week with CCDA, but she talked about community choirs and how to build community while we're away. And I totally stole stuff that she did. She sent out a survey to her people, and I did the same thing and basically said, here's a list of, 6 things that we could do as a group. Check the ones that you like best. And then I said things that we could do in a more individual or small group, like, would you like a voice lesson? Would you like work on sight reading? Would you like, a time to just talk or prayer time or whatever it is? And I was really, really pleased with the results and surprised that so many people agreed on what was important to them. Mostly, I was surprised that there were so many things that they wanted to do. And it's going to be a lot of work for me this summer. So school's out this week, and then I can.
Can you share what they wanted to do? I'm curious.
Yeah. Give me 10 seconds, and I'll maybe pull it up for you. One of the things that I offered was a Zoom. We've been having a weekly Zoom call, and some of them are into that, and some of them are not. We also were looking at having opportunities for prayer, because that's such an important part of our time together. We gave options for doing something like Sight Reading Factory or some other way to really work on reading, because they're not awesome at that. Some of them are good, but everybody needs help. And virtual choir, of course, that got the most hits. And I'm like, oh, beautiful. You guys don't know what you're looking at, but let's try it.
They have no idea.
They have no idea. So anyway, I can look it up and see if I can.
Oh, that's fine. I was just kind of curious touch points.
Yeah. I was out of the 22, I got 14 back right away, and I'm hoping to get a few more. But I was pleased they wanted to connect. I heard from one of my guys who's like, you know what, I love you, Kim. I'm not going to do anything. When we're back, I'll be back. But this is not interesting to me to do it over virtually. Oh, the other thing that we did that was fun, sorry, I'm taking a lot of time, is we offered a bring your own dinner and sit on the patio at church. And we did that a couple of weeks ago, and just had set up chairs, kind of around the fountain that we have. And everybody brought their own dinner. And I thought we'd sing a song. We didn't do it. It was just hangout time. But it was great to see people's faces. And this Sunday, we are doing a drive-through communion on our campus. And we're also going to say, park your car if you want to and talk to people through your window, or get out if you want to, just to have a way to connect. So,
that's awesome. I love that dinner idea.
Yeah, it was easy.
Easy, safe.
And people who want to can, and don't want to,
Right. Yeah, I think in terms of before, we kind of go back to whatever normal is, keeping a sense of community is really important to a lot of people. So does anybody else have any ways that they've been able to really connect with their church choirs?
We've been having a bi-weekly. We started off calling it a rehearsal, but the singing, we were doing warm-ups and a little bit, but the singing wasn't interesting to people. So we've just been meeting every 2 weeks just to catch up and do prayers.
Nice. Awesome. Anybody else?
Well, I can just share what we've been doing at my church. So for 11 weeks now, we've been recording. We've used our section leaders, we've used our pastors and lay readers to do the scripture on like families and kids. And we've been pre-recording the worship service. We all pre-record on a different day. Our singers come and record 2 weeks worth of music on a Thursday night. And we have been able to do handbells, because apparently that is what they've deemed as safe. So we've been able to gather a few of our handbell players to play solos, duets, quartets, even a sextet they allowed us to do. But as of yesterday, they're allowing us to have handbell rehearsals again. So as long as we're 6 feet apart and wear masks. So we started back in with that. We were going to have a rehearsal tonight, but I decided to cancel it because we're in Long Beach and too many things are happening right now out in the world. But that's worked well. People are really responding to our online worship services, and our pastors and I have been exploring new new ways of putting the worship music out. I was able to put together through Final Cut Pro, which I learned only through tutorials online, how to put a virtual choir together. So I put a children's choir together doing Jesus Loves Me with sign language. And it turned out real nice. But it took me many, many, many hours to put together. But I did feel like the end result was worth it. But it did take a lot of time. We've been doing weekly Zoom meetings with all of our choirs. The Zoom meetings where you just talk have been somewhat successful, but mostly, like one of you had said, topics is what they like. Some of the topics that ours have liked is getting to know our section leaders and getting to know myself and our accompanist, Robert York, better. So just because we never really have time to get to know each other at rehearsal. So we've been doing that on Zoom meetings. I think the main thing that I wanted to ask all of you, and I'm sure this is probably a topic for later, but what are you going to do when you go back? Right now, our church is struggling to figure out what we're going to do when we go back. My choirs are all older, so they're afraid to sing together. The children, I don't even know if they're going to let them sing together. I mean, I just don't know what all of you are doing and what your churches are saying. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, so my church is very small, and since we've been sheltered in place, music has just been put on pause, and we don't really have instruction yet as to when we're returning. So that's kind of where I'm at. Does anybody know when they're going back and have anything in place yet?
Brenda, go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
Sorry. One of the maintenance men just walked in my classroom and was saying hi. So I was, I was saying hi to him. Go ahead.
So the session at our Presbyterian church has put together a committee to talk about when we might reopen, and they asked me to sit on it as the music director. We had our first meeting last week, and the agreement was, because the choir and the church are both substantially older congregants, the earliest we're going to do anything, it would be September, early October. So we're basically going to be meeting once a month, this committee, to track science and everything else that's going on. And probably we wouldn't do any active planning until late August. So the summer is basically just let's wait and see. People are relatively happy with the Zoom worship services, and we're reaching people that we don't normally see in church. And so there are great downsides to not being together physically, but there have also been some upsides. Mm-hmm. So we probably we haven't told the congregation anything about a reopening date. The committee talked about, well, maybe like World Communion Sunday on the first Sunday in October, but even that is iffy. And I could easily see that my choir would not be meeting together again until 2021.
Mm-hmm. My church council met last week and put together a committee with at least the decision nothing will happen before July. I think we'll end up being closer to what you just mentioned, Hugh, of really more the fall being more of an effective date for us. Our issue is that we co-share or rent our space to another church. So there is a Korean congregation that uses our facilities as well. A little bit younger than us. I'm not quite sure what their interest, how quickly they want to get back in the space. But if you read the instructions from the state on what it takes to be open, we're sending out a poll to the congregation to say, how much of this do you want to put yourself through and put the staff through of getting the space ready for you each and every time that we use it? Because it's quite extensive currently. And I don't think I'm not expecting the choir to be together until 2021.
Yeah, we did a survey of the congregation with things like, will you come back if there's no Sunday school? Will you come back if there's no congregational singing? Will you come back if, and I don't know if they've collected enough to make any comments yet about what people said, but it's not like we're going back to go you know, to be anything like it was before. And personally, I just think it's going to feel wrong to be there and not be able to sing. And I mean, just to have a soloist stand up front isn't church if people aren't singing, you know. So I can't imagine it if we have to stand there. And I mean, they even said, like, you know, responsive prayers, people shouldn't be all speaking at once. Like, oh my God. So what can you do? You might as well watch it on TV.
Yeah, that really turned away a lot of the folks that were on our council meeting last week of, is it church if you're not singing or even able to say any prayers together?
And you can't hug anybody, and you can't, there's just all the things that make it special to be together.
A couple people on our committee expressed, and I hadn't really thought about this before, but with all the stuff you're going to have to do, is that going to leave you in a frame of mind to worship? If there's an overriding sense of concern, anxiety,
yes,
fear, will it just be a thing to do that you have to get through? Where is the worship element in that? And I hadn't really thought about that before, but that's that kind of turned my thing. I want to be very conservative about this myself, but I hadn't really thought about, well, how is my relationship with God in that worship space going to be if I'm worrying about the guy next to me, or, you know, 6 feet away, mask, might be coughing. I don't know. It's really hard.
You know, sometimes it's hard enough to feel like you are in worship when you're working it anyway. I mean, there's so many worship services I get through, and I'm like, what did he say in the sermon? I was too busy thinking about the offertory, or, you know, the kid in the back, or, you know, whatever it was. And in the best of circumstances, it's hard to worship when you're working, but it's with all this extra stuff, I think it would definitely be a challenge.
Amen.
Well, our church is thinking about opening in July. That's what they're saying. So right now they're looking into purchasing hand washing stations. And the first thing they found out is how expensive they are, because they want them to be the ones where you just put your hand underneath, you know, you don't touch it. And each hand washing station is $160.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to buy one for every entrance and probably 2 for the sanctuary. And so there you go with $1,000 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just hand washing stations. And then thinking about looking out at a congregation in masks that can't have Sunday school, can't have childcare, can't have, so the children will be sitting with their parents.
Yep.
And no singing, no congregational recitation, and no fellowship time afterwards. I don't see the pluses. So that's why it's hard to think about going back in July. And they also want to live stream because, as one of you said, we've built up this following of people that don't normally come to church, and thinking about then live streaming a service that has no music, or I don't know, it just doesn't seem, it seems a little depressing to me.
And even the reduced occupancy is having 25% of your occupancy worth it. And what if you have more than that who want to attend? Do you deal with reservations?
Right.
Yeah, some places are.
I mean, I don't know.
I've seen posts on different Facebook groups about people going to Eventbrite to make or get tickets for worship services. It's a new world.
Well,
I think that's where we're going to kind of have to start when we start moving back, because, you know, you don't want to turn people away when they show up at church. So, I mean, it seems a bit ridiculous, but I think that's where we're headed, definitely.
Well, and then someone at our church says, well, let's just send them to another room to watch it on a screen. And I thought, well, then just stay home.
Yeah.
Watch it on a screen.
and then that's another room that you have to decontaminate before and after.
Right.
Yeah.
Kristen, we actually have the same situation that you do with 2 congregations. Our church rents out our facility to a Korean church, and that actually was a big subject of discussion at our meeting on Wednesday. The whole protocol of they may not be as careful as we are, and so that we're going to have to go through that as well.
Yeah.
We're having that same, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, we rent out our facility to another congregation as well. And what I'm mostly concerned about is the microphones, the microphone stands, the music stands. You know, I really think we need to have separate equipment.
ahead, Kristen.
One of the things that's come out of this for our church is we've always had a Wednesday night community table, which is a free meal for anybody who wants to come in. We've been doing that about a year and a half now. And we've recently expanded it to be a food pantry, a food delivery place that meets 2 Wednesdays a month right before the dinner, so people can come and get their, bag of groceries and things. And it has really taken over the kitchen, the lobby, and a portion of the sanctuary now that we're not there on Sundays. The storage of the food, the number of people, tons of people are coming now who are, out of work or whatever because of the virus. And it's been a great ministry for the church, but I don't know how you pack that up and say, you guys can use this corner now because we have to open everything up for worship, and we're going to need every inch if we've got to spread people out, there are going to be sacrifices from a lot of different people when things go back.
That's a great ministry.
Yeah, it's worked out really well for us.
Have any of you done rehearsals in like a parking lot, or like where you pull your car up and sit in the trunk, or back into an SUV?
In those videos, yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Is that a plan?
We're thinking of doing either get-togethers for community, like bring your own dinner type thing. We've got a large enough parking lot that I think we could put to use. And I'm trying to think of a way to be able to get congregants that I know will be nervous about coming to campus and being in the sanctuary building for months to come.
Yeah.
A way to be able to get them to see in person people that they've only seen on Zoom now.
We've even talked about trying to have a worship service just outside on the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't know what the number thing is now. Can you have 100 people in a space? I mean, not even indoors, but outdoors, spread out?
I think it's county by county.
Yeah, and who knows whether people will come and feel safe and the funny thing about when we had the dinner outside for choir is the people who had kids didn't come because they were afraid their kids, you can't say, Johnny, sit here in this chair while you have dinner with mommy. You can't run around on the fountain like you used to. You can't go play in the grass. You can't go on the playground. And so what fun is that? How are we going to tell kids? How are we going to tell preschool kids at school? You have to be 6 feet from your neighbor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen, there's this video of some, he's like trying out a way to lead rehearsal outside, and everyone's in their car, kind of what you were describing, and people had microphones, and then there was, the speaker. Has anyone seen that? But that would require equipment. I know I don't have mics and a speaker. Who does have access to that kind of music?
Only inside.
But you do have it.
We have wireless plus wired mics, but it's all for the built-in system within the sanctuary.
Okay, so
we could do mics outside, but like a couple. It's not like we could hand one to everybody in their car. That would be a lot.
So if we're thinking about once we are back in church, I'm just trying to brainstorm ideas because I have a smaller congregation, so I think it makes it a bit easier to figure out how to rehearse. But for those of us with larger congregations, how are we going to do this? I was envisioning maybe like a circle, right? And everyone's turned out of the circle and everyone's spaced apart. I wonder what that would look and sound like in terms of, singing, and is that still safe? Do people still feel safe doing that? Will that be effective? Has anyone thought about any formations or even kind of tried them out?
I think I'm probably in a boat similar to a lot of you. Is that I have a relatively small choir. I think unfortunately we're losing 2 of our tenors to various things. We have the problem that people aren't confident in their ability to sing by themselves, and it would have to be a formation where they can hear the voice of the section leader well enough to be able to carry on to that. I'm very blessed that the church sponsors a couple section leaders, but the other singers are not quite as confident. So and our sanctuary is kind of acoustically dead. And it's really gonna be hard to do that. I like the idea of singing in a circle and being turned out, but I just don't know if that would work for a choir to be able to really. It's almost like the virtual choir thing where you're singing by yourself.
Right.
I think all of us need to keep up on the science and find, data about how safe it is to sing even one person in a room of 100, because we have a congregation member who's a nurse, and she is convinced that if one person sings in a building, then everyone will be infected.
Oh my God.
So I think we need to make sure that we are up on the latest, because right now we're doing recording in a room with 4 section leaders, myself as director, accompanist, and the sound person. So that's already 8 people, and we've been doing this for 11 weeks now, and no one's gotten sick. But there's seems to be some people who feel like the virus it's everywhere, and there's just a lot of misnomers, or maybe I think we just need to be up on the science and have provable papers or scientists that have said that it's safe for maybe one singer to sing in the corner of the church that's the size of a large auditorium or something. Or maybe a plastic shield or a mask. I just don't see a one singer singing with a mask on. I think that would just be terrible.
Well, ACDA and NATS are sponsoring that study at CSU Fort Collins and CU Boulder that is going to have all kinds of great equipment for measuring aerosol and droplets. And what I think I had heard is they hope to have results by September.
Yeah, it was, I think, 14 weeks. I shared that proposal with the ministry staff at my church so that they know that that kind of research is ongoing, and hopefully we'll have results in a few months.
That's great to know. Thank you.
My pastor actually said to me, so I've seen these things that people could wear over there. And I was like, are you kidding me? There's no way I'm putting a space alien in front of the congregation to sing. I won't do it. Right. How can you sing with a plastic thing in front of your face? Well, where the sound go? It'll come right back at your face.
That's great for junior high boys. Then they can finally hear themselves. I don't currently have a church choir, but like I said, I've had church choirs in the past. But here in the community where I live in Loma Linda is the large Loma Linda University Medical Center, the School of Medicine and dentistry and nursing and all of that. So I think our community is even, or our church is even more, is hyper careful and hyper aware. And I'm listening to Julie saying she's been doing this for 11 weeks. Our church, they wouldn't even let our minister of music, who was making the recordings, like drop a microphone off at somebody else's house so they could use it for recording, and or even put 2 people in the same space, because doctors are watching the service and then they're like emailing in and calling and texting saying, why are you not social distancing? Why are they in the same room singing together? And so it's going to be probably not until next year that our university church is even in the same building. I texted a link to our conference reopening resources. They're well put together, and they're based on San Bernardino County and Riverside County kind of combined. But they're saying if you want to get together now, 100 people, but absolutely no singing.
None at all.
No. Yeah, they said no singing.
One person. No.
Yeah. Oh, one person good, but no congregational singing. They just said one person can sing. So I think we're going to keep doing the pre-recorded worship services for probably into next year. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Our congregation is, I think it's 1,200 people, maybe 1,400 people. So
that's hard.
yeah, and just the cost of having, and like Hugh was saying, that constant, okay, go in, because we have 3 services, go in and disinfect, and just, yeah, so much preparation that would have to go into each service, and taking the temperature, and then, okay, we have to have a room if somebody has a temperature, let's put these people in this waiting area here, and they're just, yeah, they're doing a lot of talking, but at least they're being really active. I mean, they're having meetings, 2 or 3 meetings every week about this kind of
Great.
trying to get back together.
And
So
how many people do you have in the choir?
the choir has 60,
Wow.
60.
and it's a really small room. It's a really small room with no ventilation. I sub for the director once in a while, but yeah.
And is it,
So,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was just
Go ahead.
wondering if it's one person, is it the same person always singing, or has it been people taking turns?
People taking turns. Yeah, and we've put a link on our church website. If you want to lead out in the hymns, here's the link to the hymns for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Here's how you record your video. There's a PDF that they click on. Here's how you record your video. Here's where you submit, upload your video to this Google Drive. And it's been kind of fun, actually, because we had a bass clarinet playing along with our hymn last Sabbath. It was pretty funny. That was neat to see different people really getting involved. And we have people like from around the world that are starting to submit, I want to sing along on the hymn, and they submit their videos, or I want to play the violin on the hymn along with the hymn. And so some services will have like a brass quintet, a string quartet. I don't know what it is about that one day, but everybody wants to play on the hymn. So but that makes a lot of work for our media team. We're fortunate that we have a full-time media team and people who get paid to create these virtual videos, with all these different windows in them, with the worship leader and the brass quartet, the pianist, everything. So, I mean, they're working overtime now. Our service is usually televised and live streamed.
That's great. That's great.
Brenda, could you send or put the link to your hymn invitation? I think that I really like that idea. And I don't know if we don't have a lot of instrumentalists in our church, but I'd just like to kind of take a look at it, because that's very creative.
Sure. And they have a couple of links that you guys will see on there for anybody who wants a family who would like to sing the children's song. We've had families submitting videos to do the children's story song. We have families who are submitting to do the scripture reading. But they have to click on that link and submit their video. They have to do the work and then just submit it, and then the media team does the rest. So let me get that link while you guys keep talking.
That's a great way, I think, to keep people involved and to also recruit new people.
Yeah.
Something that they can kind of try on their own without the pressure of being there in person. That's a great idea, Brenda.
Yeah. So there's a little box you click on. It says virtual hymn participation, and it says click above to be part of our worship music. And then I don't see the one for children's story this week. I wonder if they have enough for a while or something. Anyway, let me copy and paste this link into our chat. LLUC.org, Loma Linda University Church.
Awesome.
Great.
Has anyone else been doing something like that where you're just recruiting every week or asking members of the congregation to take turns providing music?
We have our scriptures done by different people from their homes that they record that, but music has all been group and no social distancing. I mean, I am leaning on the piano when I'm standing there with my mic and the drummer's right behind me and the guitar, and we're like, you know, this is it.
Yeah.
This is how we do it.
Well, when we record, we're required to do the social distancing thing. So if you were to watch our services, you would see that the pianist is sitting in one area, I'm conducting in another area. The section leaders are all 6 feet apart in the same area, and we record with one mic for all of them so that they can blend.
So how many cameras are you using, Julie?
Right now, just one. But see, we do takes. I mean, like, we don't film the entire worship service. It's just like the music we record on one night. The pastor records it a separate time. Everybody records it a separate time, and then our videographer puts the whole thing together.
I mean, when you're all, I mean, are all 4 singers singing together at the same time?
Yeah.
So do each of them have a phone on them, a phone camera looking at them, and they're making their own video, or the camera's just going around like that?
Actually, the camera's just back far enough to capture everyone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And you know, sometimes he doesn't necessarily want to move during the shot, but what he does is he adds the Ken Burns effect, which for those of you who know or iMovie, you know,
Yeah.
so it's panning across or zooming in or whatever it is. So, so trying to make it interesting, because we've learned that a static image is kind of boring after a while.
Yeah. Yeah. In the last couple of weeks, they gave our organist, I'm assuming they gave it to him, but he has 2 camera angles now, one on his feet and one on his hands. So now it's a little more interesting as we watch him play. But about a month ago, I dropped off, I dared him. I said, okay, I'm going to drop off a pair of socks that have yellow smiley faces on them. And I dare you to wear them. And he did actually wear them for one of the church services. It was pretty funny. And the camera had a pretty good shot on his socks, and people were commenting, there's smiley faces on your socks.
One of the things that our organist has started to do is tell a little bit about the postlude before he plays the postlude.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And it has attracted so many more people to stay and watch the postlude.
Wow, that's a great idea.
So that's been just something new that he just decided to do it in 1 week, and everybody, you know, before you can look at the numbers, because we posted on YouTube, and you can see the numbers dropping while he's playing the postlude, because they just leave. But when he talked about it, then everybody but like 2 people who were watching stayed. So they want to do that every week now, because it makes it so much more interesting. It's like a talk before a concert, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've actually the pastors are starting to intro our songs as well. So they ask me for an intro or maybe a quote from the composer about the piece or something like that. So they start to include that. And I think it makes a nice transition. It helps when your pastors are willing to do those sort of things.
We do that ourselves before they push record, and then we say, sing along with us on this hymn, or we chose this song because blah, blah, blah. And they said the response has been really good from people that they want to hear us speak, not just 1, 2, 3, sing, next thing, you know.
Right.
More personal.
Work well. Yeah, good.
You know, Hugh, you were asking about the size of the choir at the University Church, and it's 60, but you know, are we out 11 weeks now, 12 weeks or something? Only one time has the Sanctuary Choir made a virtual choir video. And some of you were mentioning it's that fear because there's a large group of 60 plus, 70 plus in that choir, and there's just this tremendous fear. Well, first of all, of technology, and then recording themselves and having to watch it and listen to it, and then going into that, listening to that inner critic, oh, you sound awful, why don't submit that, you know? So when they did finally do a virtual choir video with the adult choir, I think it was 20 singers, and I thought, I'm going to check and see, and it was, 50 and below. I know most of the singers, and they were all under the age of 50 for that. And so that made sense. So now they've opened up the anthem time to, well, they haven't opened it up. Let me correct myself. They're reaching out to people saying, would you submit special music? So they're getting piano solos and violin solos and vocal solos, say from, there's a lot of Adventist universities throughout North America. And so they're reaching out to some of the voice teachers at those universities to submit special music. So it's almost like, who's going to sing this week? Because we're, wondering who's going to sing this week. We're getting lots of soloists from around the world almost who are wanting to sing for the anthem time. But I really miss the choir. I miss their faces. Because I know them. I have a personal connection with them. Someone from, say, Andrews University in Michigan, I don't even know them. So I almost don't care. I just kind of like, okay, well, I want to see the people I know, that I worship with, that I go to church with. So
yeah, the singing solo is hard. Christy, I don't know if you did Eric Whitaker's virtual choir, but I did like 10 takes. 2 takes I couldn't get the clap right, and I kept singing wrong notes, and then I was singing flat, and then then my vowels were really bad. The nice thing about this a cappella app is we've been choosing simple songs, and my wife and I pre-record the quartet. And so anybody that gets it already has a quartet singing with them.
Yeah.
And you're actually not hearing yourself so much singing alone. So I don't think it's quite so scary. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, one of my sopranos who she's a good musician. She's 75 or so. She actually arranged to borrow somebody's iPad. She just had an Android device. She arranged to borrow an iPad so the next time we do this, she can participate. And so it's this way at least is a little bit less scary. I don't know.
I'm wondering about trying it audio only and having still photos on top of it. Because for me, when I was recording myself singing, I was so conscious of the connection to the camera for my face that I was almost trying to be memorized on everything so that I could really look at this while I was still kind of seeing the conductor way down on my, computer and my camera and make sure. And there were just so many things to think about. And I thought if I could take out the visual, people don't like looking at themselves anyway, and try maybe the first time just audio.
Yes.
We'll
Kim, that's what my husband does he plays trumpet descants with the hymn. Mm-hmm. So he does an audio recording first of him playing the descant. Mm-hmm. And then we make a video recording of him. Mm-hmm. So the media team uses that audio recording, and they layer it then with the video. Uh-huh. So he's just faking. He's playing it, but he's not trying,
Right.
Yeah, he's got the right fingerings and the right rhythms and everything,
right.
But
it's just having 6 things you have to think about at once is really hard. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do that.
I have a friend who's an organist at a UCC church in St. Louis, and she has done that. She has had her choir send in audio recordings, and then she does a Zoom meeting with all of them lip syncing to the song. And then she takes those audio recordings and overlays the Zoom meeting so that nobody really is worrying about exactly what you said.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
I did a virtual choir submission last week, and I found I was so worried about the video. I recorded the audio separate, and then I mouthed along to another recording, and then I spliced them together in literally 2 minutes. Like, that's how quick it was, because I was able to, there was a clap you had to put in at the beginning, and because of that clap, and I guess I did it sharp enough that it was a real quick peak, I lined that up and then said, I'm good. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't take a lot of time, and I use free software to put it together on the video side.
What did you use?
I have a PC and use OpenShot video editor.
Okay.
And you can even use it for doing a virtual choir. You can do multiple video tracks going on at the same time. OpenShot video editor. I'll type it in here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, my husband is the media guy for our church, so he's confident he can make it work, whatever we have to do. So we'll give it a try. Everybody wants to do it. At least they say they want to do it. When I say now, find a time when nobody's in your house listening to you, so you can take your time. It'll be pulling teeth to get them back, I think, but
Yeah.
we'll try.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like we're going to be doing this mostly virtually for a while, so we
Yeah.
probably better get acquainted with all these apps and resources to doing.
Does anybody have any ideas of what they're going to be doing? I mean, if we're not going to be singing for a year, what are you going to be doing with your choirs?
I'll try audio, virtual choir type things. I just don't know how savvy my singers are. You know, one of my altos is 90, 91. You know, she's able to get on the iPad and do the Zoom meetings, which is fantastic. She participates in all of her stuff, but you know, she needs a little bit of help with that. So, but I think we can slowly start to add in more of their participation in some type of way.
I'm just thinking when you say that, if I was doing something special at Christmas or Easter, I'd hire some ringers because I don't have any section leaders. So why not do that for your Zoom call? If I could get my choir to even have one anthem a month now with this distance thing that they do with a virtual choir, I could get a couple of other people to sing on that. They never know.
Absolutely.
Boost it up a little bit.
Absolutely. It could be sanctuary choir and friends.
I got some friends. I bet some of my friends would do it for nothing. You know,
Yeah.
it wouldn't take them long.
Yeah. You know, a friend of mine, she used to sing in LA Master Chorale and LA Opera. And she's doing the choir in Glendale at the Vallejo Drive Church where I used to be. And she's putting out virtual choir videos. And I'm looking at all the people on there. I'm going, Master Chorale, LA Opera, Master Chorale. Are you kidding
fair.
me? That's
Yeah.
cheating. That is cheating. I think I saw 2 church members. And the
Wow.
rest of them are all Master Chorale and LA Opera. It's like, oh my goodness. Anyway.
That's not fair.
But I did notice with our church choir here when they did the there were some people who were in that video who were friends of they are not regular choir members, so why not? You know, and it could be maybe some people who love to sing with you at Christmas time and love to sing with you at Easter, but can't commit to the entire year. Yeah, invite them. I mean,
Or people from anywhere, people from across the country.
Absolutely.
Your cousin.
Absolutely. How fun would that be?
Yeah.
To put Martha next to her cousin John.
Oh, yeah.
On the video, the Brady Bunch. Yeah.
Great time to be recruiting, you know, we can hook them now, and if they enjoy their experience, I think once we go back, they'll be more inclined.
Yeah. And you know what I think would be even more special is because, you know, like high school and college kids, they kind of think, you know, they love to sing, they've been in choirs, but they look at the sanctuary choir and think, I'm not old enough to be in that choir. And now they can join the sanctuary choir, you know, be part of the sanctuary choir recording or chancel choir, whatever your choir is called. But that'd be a great way to include the youth in the church too. And you know that they're video savvy.
Yeah.
They'll be the first one to submit a video because they know exactly what to do.
Better than us, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
How do your choir members, for my women's chorus this spring, we had because we are a much older group and we also perform mostly in retirement communities, our spring was wiped out. We've been doing hour-long kind of rehearsals every week with musicianship training, and we've also been inviting in composers to talk with us. They have really been into kind of musicianship, but my church choir, when we've done this stuff either live or via Zoom, that doesn't really pique their interest too much. Have you guys found ways to motivate your choir, or is what we're doing now the prayer and, you know, kind of checking up is that the most meaningful thing to your choirs?
I mentioned I do the hymn sing once a week with the
Right.
congregation and choir, and for that, I'm not the host for the meeting. One of the pastors is, so that she can mute anybody who forgets to mute before we start singing again. So they only hear me playing the piano and singing along. But they're singing with gusto. If you watch their faces on the video, they're enjoying the experience. Yeah, it takes some diligence of trying to make sure that whoever is leading it is the only one that's able to make sound to the group.
Gosh, the person who can solve that problem and help us be able to sing together on Zoom or some other platform, oh my gosh, that would be huge.
Right.
What a disaster. We tried just happy birthday one time. Oh my God.
Yeah.
At Laguna Niguel, I'm still holding the choir, I call it the fellowship time. And in that fellowship time, I ask people to tell me what hymn they want to sing. And then I have the books on the 101 hymn story. So I just ask somebody to read the story and then we sing that. And I do the same thing like Kristen. My assistant, she just play the piano and she sing, and everybody else have to mute everybody else. They sing along.
Right.
Then in each of the session, we just have a little discussion. And I use the material that I took when I took the class on biblical of Christian worship and historical of Christian worship, and I kept talking about one subject, like the visual of worship. But I give the material to one of the choir member, and I just ask them to prepare, and they take turn. So far we have four meeting, and we took turn to talk about the visual art, about music, and we could talk a little bit, then we sing, and then everybody, we give a chance to everybody to share. We call it the family praying time. And everybody say, I have a prayer request, I have a praise request, and we just share and then we pray. And so far we, on Thursday night, instead of come to church rehearsal, we do that on Zoom. But like Julie say, I think that I need to get my choir to sing. So I start making, I just want to go slow, so make sure that my choir didn't get shocked. So I just say, let's get started with virtual rehearsal. So I did that. I and my accompanist will go to the church, and I do the same thing like you take with the vinegar. And I stand there with the piano. I create the piano track, and then I use the piano track with the organ to play the soprano. I conduct the soprano. And then I'll send out to people. I haven't sent out, I just create it and I just review it. It look good. So I'm start sending out to people. I say, this is virtual rehearsal only. So just stay home and practice with this clip. If we meet again, I'll report to you how my choir react. People in my choir, they are old. So they are very conservative and they don't like the technology. So let's see if I can convince them just to get back to virtual rehearsal. Just sing at your own home. Just sing. Control yourself. That's it. No more.
Yeah, let us know how it goes, Finn. We'd love to hear that.
In a couple of weeks, I'll report back if we meet again.
Yeah, so it's a little past 4. If you would like to meet again or have very specific topics you want to cover additionally, or just any feedback on this roundtable, please let me know so that we could possibly schedule this again. But I think this was really productive. It was nice to just see people and kind of talk through some things. So please let me know if you'd like to do this again. And it was great meeting a lot of you and seeing some of you again. And I hope you're all staying really safe and sane during these wild times.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.